broadcasting. Yards, touchdowns, shut your mouth, broadcasting. First round draft pick, believe we got stats, kid. Quarterback stacking, 100-yard dashing. So tap in for the action. What teams got traction?
Welcome to the Sim Podcast Show. I'm your co-host, Sirik, and I'm always joined by my co-host, Ron. What up, Ron?
What's going on?
You know what we do? We talk about the National Football League on a weekly basis, including the playoffs. And Ron, I want to wish everyone a happy holidays. This is technically our Christmas show because Christmas is in less than a week.
I know. It's crazy. This whole year has flown by. The holidays next week. Yeah, I don't even know what to say, man. Still got a lot of shopping to do. Not much football to watch anymore because our teams are basically almost out of it. You know,
well, our teams are out of it, but there's still a lot of football to watch.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
really good Christmas game. Can't wait to see Baltimore, San Francisco. That's going to be a great game.
Listen, I don't know. It used to be that the NBA owned Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden we got 30 football games on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, you know, overlapping leagues and all that. They're just running out of hours of the day to put games on. So we're going to recap week 15. We're going to have our NFL news. We're going to have our upset specials, our predictions, our power ranking. But first, let's kick it off with some NFL news. Rodgers made it official now. He's out for the year. Which coincidentally, I thought, wow, the Jets get blown out by Miami, and all of a sudden, oh, you know what? I can't play. And Ron, all year long, I already told you.
Talk.
He was on the show. The media was all on it. There was tweets, of him like in slow motion, throwing the ball. And I kept telling you, this is all hype. This is just him to stay on the news cycle, and now it's official. It was all hype, Ron. It was all hype.
Do you think if the Jets were in a different situation, they were still in it, he'd come back? I don't think he'd come back either way.
I don't think any doctor would put their medical certification on the line and clear him to come back. That would be like a huge mistake by him. But yes, I'm glad. Even though this is week 16, I'm glad that he's over it, that we don't have to talk about him. Yes, he can make his weekly Pat McAfee show prediction, but he's out. Ron, the other set of news that I wanted to put in here is Matt Patricia is back in our lives. Or not so much in your life, but in the Eagles' life.
Your life.
What? And you mentioned that this is probably like the NFL just recycling things, but what's going on here? Is it just like free coaches? I know he's still on the contract with the Lions, so he's getting a check. So why the Eagles tap him though?
I don't even know, man. The NFL, like, teams are just like too scared. I don't know why, but they don't do any work and make an effort to go out and find new talent. They rather just recycle coaches, like look for someone else who's been there, whether they were successful or not. Just hire them just because they have some experience, and they're afraid, I think, to do anything different. And it sucks for the NFL, sucks for teams that have that way of looking at things.
Like, I know if you were an Eagles fan and you came up to me and you said, hey, we just got Matt Patricia to call our defense, is it going to be better? I dealt with this guy my whole entire life. Sometimes he can be a hit, sometimes he can be a not so much. I don't know if this is going to make him any better, but I mean, he has had success on the defense, not so much in the offense. So maybe it'll work out. Who knows? I just throw my hands in the air. I'm like, yeah, I guess he's back in life.
Give somebody else a chance. That's all I gotta say. I know at this scale, your team is still first, right? Still in first place, still a Super Bowl favorite. you probably don't want to. They probably felt the need to go with someone with experience, but I think at the off season, I think all teams need to take a look at their who's on their staff. Say, do we have the right people, or are we just taking the same people over and over again that have had their time go by? And I don't know. I think it's teams like the Dolphins, teams like even Houston. I got to give them credit, right? That go out and they're okay to take risks and do something different. That's what I respect.
Yeah, this is if you think outside the box and come up with something new that we haven't seen before, hey, more power to you. I think that you're working in the right space. But if you're doing the Eagles things and you're recycling people just because you lost a defensive coordinator to Arizona, so now you got to bring in Matt Patricia. Whatever works, man. Whatever works. Okay, this I put it in there because at the beginning of the week, we both disagreed. The Kazee suspension. Ron, this is your moment. This is your chance. Why is the NFL overstepping on?
Let's just first start off by level setting. The NFL has been awful this year. The officiating on the field has been terrible. In addition to that, the fines that have happened, after the game, outside the game, has been atrocious. The fines that players have had has been atrocious, and a lot of players have had to appeal them, and they've won in most cases. They've won their appeals, but the whole system to me is broken. Now, on the Kazee play specifically, he got flagged for what I thought was a clean but probably an unnecessary hit. By the rule of the book, he didn't lower his helmet. He didn't leave his feet. He just bent down, used his shoulder pad, but he did hit a guy that was in a compromising position. Now, the guy was diving for the ball. Did he have time to slow up? And even if he did, what's the other option? What can he do in that position to prevent the player from catching the ball? Nothing. It's either hit him or let him catch it, right? So
I think you answered your question yourself earlier when you said what he was supposed to do is just tag him. He's down, tag him.
So let him catch the ball and then tag him.
Because as the John Runyon who made this violation, the decision, he could have avoided the hit.
Oh, yeah.
It was very avoidable.
Absolutely.
He didn't, and that's why he got flagged.
Yeah, so we should have 60-point games every week, right? And not just play defense. Don't hit anybody if that's the case.
And this is why I say it goes back to coaching. A hit like that is going to get flagged. All
right, so explain to me, and this is why I'm in disagreeing with the NFL. Walk me through what a legal hit in that scenario would look like.
Listen,
a legal play to play defense and to try to defend that play. What's the option?
The option, if you see that the guy is diving for the ball, that is a football play that could have been avoided.
So what do you do? I'm just asking, what do you do?
Listen,
it's a bang play. You're there. The ball is there.
It wasn't a bang play.
Yes, it was. It was
a bang
play.
He could avoid it.
It's a bang play.
No, it's not a bang play.
In baseball, and I brought this up, if two outfielders are in the outfield, they see each other. They don't know who's going after the ball. They dive into each other.
They always call. Whoever has a call.
So you've never seen players dive into each other in baseball?
Rarely happens.
It has happened.
But rarely happens, and you don't get a play. It's not the same.
It's the exact same.
It's not the same because
you cannot.
You're not going to get a penalty. Yeah, you can hurt the other guy, but you're not going to get a penalty.
Eliminate violent hits, accidental, Kazee. You think Kazee was trying to knock him out? Let me ask you that.
I think coaching here, if he's coach, let me just say this.
Okay, let me just say this. I'm asking you as a coach, what do you tell your player to do in that situation?
If you're a coach, you tell your players, listen, if the guy doesn't have his eyes on you, his eyes are on the ball.
Where are your eyes as a defensive player? Shouldn't it be trying to make a play on the ball also?
But you don't have a play on the ball.
Of course you do.
No, you don't.
But isn't your job to make a play?
You make a play on the receiver.
Okay, don't you try to prevent him from... Okay, explain. So what's the play on the receiver?
So if the receiver is laying out, like this play, like you can see the receiver laying out before he even catches the ball.
Yeah.
And then you can see the Kazee looking at the ball, looking at the receiver, looking at the ball, looking at the receiver. And he's
looking at the ball, looking at the receiver, looking at the ball.
Yes.
And, okay, so finish. So, and then what does he do?
You tag him because he's going to do? Get up and...
He's in the air.
No, who's in the air?
The receiver's diving for the ball.
Exactly. All you need to tag him. All you need is tag him.
He has not yet caught the ball.
All you need to do is tag him.
As a defender, what do you do to stop the player from catching the ball? The ball's in the air.
He already gave himself up. It's almost like he's giving himself up.
You cannot give yourself up. This makes no sense.
You cannot.
Listen,
let me say this. If he doesn't catch the ball,
the only time you can give yourself up if you have the ball. He had not. He dove to try to catch the ball. But
he's going to get penalized whether the guy catches the ball or not.
I'm not disagreeing.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not disagreeing.
That's what I'm saying. You have a chance to pull up because, like you say, he didn't launch himself. He was on his feet, so you have a chance to pull up because the other guy.
Let him catch it. But just say it. You let him catch it. You don't make a play to try to prevent him from catching the ball.
Because this is what happens.
Thank you for clearing it up. I just want you to say that.
Let him catch it.
Okay.
You avoid getting your team penalized.
Okay.
And that's it. It's 10 yards, 15 yards, whatever gain it's going to happen from that play.
Okay.
But you don't get penalized. You don't get suspended 3 games. You don't miss $200,000 in fines.
Let's.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hi guys, welcome back. We ran out of batteries. No, shocker. All right, Ron. Where were we as far as the Kazee suspension? We were talking about how I said that he should have caught the ball and just tagged him.
Let him catch it.
It. You saying that there was no way, or he's not coached for that? What were you saying?
So my point is, your job as a defender is to prevent that from happening, right? It's to
if you can.
Yes.
If you can
prevent the player from making a reception.
And what the penalty was, that it was avoidable. That was
everything.
That was a penalty.
If I'm playing defensive back and a running back is coming at me, I can step out of the way. That's avoidable, isn't it? But you were not going to get penalized. The way
you won't penalize the team. I'm not saying act like Pickens and just not block it.
But that's what you're basically saying.
What I'm saying is you hurt your team.
I don't think he
got thrown out. What do you mean he didn't hurt it?
That part doesn't bother me. So there's a lot of things that bother me, and I want to get to it, right? So the rule needs to be modified, right? I think and I don't think you can ever make it perfect. There will never be a perfect rule. There's always gray areas, right? Football is not black and white; it's gray. That's why all these calls are subjective. And you got people that are like, "Oh, I could see this," or no, this is just wrong. You shouldn't make that call. You got to use officials have to use some sort of common sense. The question is, with football, do you want the defender just to allow him to catch the ball and then tag him? Then say so. Put that in the rule book. If a guy's diving, then don't make a play. Let him catch the ball and then tag him. Put that specifically. Make it black and white. But as a defender, your job is to try to make a play on the ball. That's exactly what he did. Now, should he have hit him in the neck area? Absolutely not. He should get a penalty for that, right? So I'm not disagreeing with that. Here's the things I'm a little upset with. Makes no sense. There was a flag on the play. Makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
New York decided to come out of the game. Someone from New York called and said he can't go back in the game. Now, how in the hell can someone in New York make that call when the referees and officials don't have a chance to review it on their own and make that determination? In college, that's exactly what happened. They call targeting. The officials on the field get to look at the video, and they get to make the call on whether it's targeting, right, or if it's not, right? So someone in New York, within 2 seconds, decides to say, "Oh no, that's not a clean hit," and they boot him in for the game, right? And I guarantee they did that because his name's Kazee and he's had other penalties before. Here's the other thing that pisses me off, right? So they suspend him. A lot of back and forth of whether or not it's a clean hit. A lot of players came out. You saw Tom Brady, his response to say, what is the defender supposed to do, basically. Legitimately, it is a clean hit. It's exactly what you're supposed to do. But at the same time, the player is making a play on the ball. He's in the wrong place, wrong time. Accidents happen. Now, here's what I don't like. They came out and suspended him and said, they made him look like a dirty player. Said you've been warned several times, and he has been fined 4 or 5 times, right? Not flags necessarily, but fines after the game. Some of them he's been flagged for, others not. What I don't like is you basically insinuate that he's a dirty player. He's been fined before. He should know better. When all of those fines, I think, except for one, have been rescinded. So you admit, the NFL admits to making a mistake with the fine and rescinding the fine, but you're over here claiming he's basically a dirty player and he should know better. Your rules don't make any sense. Suspending him for 3 games, and on top of that, you say if they go to the postseason, he can't play. So it's potentially up to 7 games if we were to go all the way to Super Bowl. How the hell can you tell me? And I know they put the rules in so players can go in and appeal, which they will, and then it gives them a chance to reduce the fines or whatever, or eliminate it altogether, whatever. I get that. But how the hell can you tell me in your right mind that you can take a player away, take out his paycheck for the rest of the season, when you can't tell me or show me a video or explain what I should do as a defender to stop him from catching the ball? That would be a legal hit in terms of like what I'm able to do. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let's get the facts right. He has been fined 6 times for unnecessary roughness. 5 of them actually
rescinded.
Stayed. No, they stayed because they cost him $59,000 so far. So not everyone has been appealed.
Every single time he's been fined, he is appealed, and they've been 5 of them has been rescinded. 5 out of 6 has been rescinded.
The fact is, after the first one, he should have been like, oh, maybe I need to dial it back. He didn't. He's a habitual line stepper.
If you get a ticket for something, you appeal it, and they say, you know what, you're right.
You go back to speeding?
Right.
You go back to speeding?
You're missing my point. You're over talking, but you're not hearing what I'm saying. If you get a ticket, you say I'm speeding. I show you video that I'm not speeding. The judge agrees with, oh, you're not speeding. They take away your ticket. You can't say you're a habitual speeder. No, that doesn't make any sense. You get
another ticket for speeding, and you go back and you go, no, judge. You see, the video shows that I wasn't
exactly,
speeding.
and the judge agrees with you.
And then
you're innocent. You're innocent.
But every time you have to do that, that's ridiculous.
That's how the NFL set up their rules, right?
Well, then, I think, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't have a job come next year because
give me a break. Come on, man.
He's a habitual line stepper.
Give me a break.
Habitual line stepper.
Listen.
The rules are set up.
At the end of the day, here's what we can agree on. Football is not going to be the same. It isn't the same. From when I used to play or when I used to watch it 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, it's just not the same sport anymore. And it's kind of like baseball where they're like, or basketball, where they're like, go ahead and score 160 points. We don't care about defensive games anymore. We don't want to see 80 to 70 something games. Let's just have, 150 points. Let's make that the norm. Protect the offensive players at all costs, and basically take tackling, any sorts of tackling, out the picture. Take hitting from the game, period.
But you shouldn't be surprised by any of this because, number one, fantasy football ruined football.
I don't think it has anything to do with fantasy.
Yes, it does.
It
because
does.
listen, you get both female and male, both genders basically, to play fantasy football. You want a high scoring game so that your fantasy team, even because I know there's people in my life that do not watch NFL at all, but yet play fantasy football. So in order to please that demographic, you have to make the rules more offensive, more offensive minded.
I don't agree.
Yeah, that's
with that at all.
Then why do you think rules have changed?
Football has the reason that rules have changed, according to the NFL, is for player safety. And I honestly think they are trying to make the game safer, especially now with knowing what they know about concussions. I completely understand that. Certain things need to be banned, absolutely. But at the same time, like, you got to look at what you're doing. You're basically eliminating every single type of hit on players. You tell them don't hit high. Now, next thing you know, don't hit low. Where is a defender that's 240 something pounds running like a 4.2 40, right? Like, how is he, if he's going full speed, supposed to know I can only hit right here? When the offensive player is jumping, ducking, they get to use stiff arms. They get to do basically any, what are you making the sport into, right? Might as well just take the defense out, put flags on them, right? Like you said, and make it flag football.
It's gonna be flag football. This is the thing: is like more and more people.
But these players don't sign up for it, right? That's not what they want, right? Of course, they don't. None of them wants to get injured, right? No one's intent is to go out and hurt anyone. But at the same time, that's not the sport they grew up playing.
Yeah, but you're not going. This is the thing: is if you're talking about player safety, and you're not going to sign off on, oh, you know what, this might hurt me long term, but short term, this is going to be great. So let's get rid of the long term and just do the short term. No CBA agreement's going to go with that. They're going to look at the long term. They're going to be like, you know, if you want to play extra, if you want to play a couple of years more, we need to change these rules here. So it's not.
I get that.
Yes.
But there's certain things you have to understand. It's a violent sport. There's going to be injuries, period, right? If you're
Listen,
hold on, let me finish.
I know that
it's
you're
all
saying
about
it's a
player
violent
safety. If player safety is important, let's get rid of kickboxing, boxing, NASCAR. Let's get rid of all that stuff. If player safety, that's what it comes down to. Get rid of every contact sport.
Boxing, kickboxing, UCF. Those are niche sports.
What the hell are you talking about?
Do you see kickboxing and UCF and whatever UFC fights on network TV? No, you do not.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. It matters.
NASCAR's aren't regular TV. People die in NASCAR. They literally die. That's what you sign up for, to be a professional. You understand what the risks are, right? Now, if it's gonna turn off people, they don't even show replays. What turns off?
They stopped doing the hitting.
Let me ask you something.
They stopped doing the hitting on ESPN because they were like, you can't promote hitting.
Let me ask you something. You think if they allowed it to be like what it was 10 years ago, would have turned off the NFL? You don't think there'd be a multi-billion-dollar industry right now? They would think that more money today. There's people in charge of the NFL right now that they look at this not as a football product, but as a product, as something that they can mold and they can sell to the masses. This is what I'm saying, is like, there's too much money involved for them to be like, you know what, people can die on live TV. They don't want that. They're going to make whatever the case possible, whatever the rules possible to make it less violent. That's why we're headed towards flag football, because eventually nobody's going to be allowed to touch anyone. Yeah, well, it's a sad state of affairs. It is a sad state of affairs, but those are the rules. With Kazee, I like I said, you want to flag him? I get that. Heck, I'm okay with you throwing him out of the game. I just didn't like how it happened. Like, the officials that are there on the field need to be able to look at a replay, look at as many replays as they need to, and make that decision. That can't come from anywhere. I don't agree with that at all. They're not. You're taking it out of the officiating hand and you're putting in someone in New York, some random person in New York.
Why do you think that's happening?
I have no idea.
Because the NFL is a huge, profitable organization. They're not going to let some three guys on the football field decide.
So some random person that no one knows?
Not a random person. It's some official in the NFL.
Okay.
It's not like a random person. Someone that knows the rules says, you know what? This guy needs to get kicked out.
Let me tell you something. We can sit here and pretend like the NFL cares about players. You and I both know they do not care about player safety, right?
But they care about the viewers, the television. If they see someone being dirty, like the days of Ronnie Harrison are gone. Those days are gone. If you play safety like that,
playing. There's a difference between
even a dirty play or even a clean play. If it looks violent,
you just said it. If it looks violent.
Listen, those are the rules.
Which viewer are you talking about? Which viewer?
Those are the rules.
So if it looks violent but it's clean, it's a penalty. If it's a clean hit but it looks violent, if it's a hard hit.
Michael Pittman got up and he left the game, but he was fine.
So if I legally tackle you correctly and it's a violent hit, right? That I should be fine.
And it happens all the time. I should be fine. Every week they throw a flag, and I can see the coach going, "Hey, that was illegal heat. Why did you throw the flag?" Because it looked violent. That's why they threw the flag.
Okay, so you're admitting they're not even following the rule, right?
They are following the rule.
That's not the rule. Put it in the rule. You can't have violent hits. That's not the rule.
That's why he got kicked out, because the hit was violent.
We're going to agree to disagree. At the end of the day, the officials, we know this for damn sure. They're not following their own damn rule. They're not. They're following whatever the NFL wants them to do. That's not even in the rule book. They can give two shits about anything about player safety, or if they gave a shit about the integrity of the game, then you would hire your goddamn referees full time and you would fine them for making fucking mistakes, right? When they blow calls,
they are full time.
I think they're part time. I don't think they're full time.
No, they are full time.
Either way,
this is school.
When they make a mistake, fine their asses, okay, and make that shit public, right? When you blow a goddamn call like you do every single freaking time I turn the TV on, any game, they're blowing calls left and right at the end of the game. I want to see those guys fine. I want to see them throw out the league too. Then I know that you care about the integrity of the game or player safety. Give me a freaking break. I don't want to hear.
That's not going to happen.
I don't want to hear anything from the NFL about
the NFL. Those referees work for the NFL. They don't work for the individual teams.
That's my point.
They work for the NFL, so they're not going to get criticized.
That's my point.
They're not going to get criticized.
They're protecting their brand. That's all it is. It just comes down to money at the end of the day. We're not disagreeing on that, but it's just a sad state of affairs. And the thing is, and I know this just from working where I work, right? And dealing with HR. You have to write, but everything has to be black and white. You got to make it black and white so you can hold your people accountable. But we don't live in a society that's just black and white. It's just there's so many gray areas. You got to allow for some subjectivity, and here we are. So that's basically, there's nothing you can do about it.
Let's quickly recap week 50. Let's go with, it was Kansas City at New England. They were favored by 7.5. I had New England winning 24-17. You had them losing 18-10. Final score was 27-17 Kansas City. Ron, I watched this game, at least the first half, and I was just like, wow. Sappy has it. This is great. I mean, we could possibly win this game. I didn't watch the second half because I had to go to work, but the second half, it was like, listen, if you take Sappy from the Steelers first half and take Sappy from the Kansas City first half,
do not.
You have a winning quarterback.
You cannot look at that Steeler game and take anything like it's real, right? The Steelers did not show up, period. They gave up and did not show up. So you can't Zappy could have thrown for 10 touchdowns. It wouldn't have made a freaking difference. You go out and just play another team, and the real Zappy would show up. And that's what happened. Patriots are not a good football team. They don't have a quarterback. And at the end of the day, I don't care who you play, right? Some team decides to go out and lay an egg. He looks like Joe Montana. Well, great. He'll be Joe Montana for that 1 week. Zappy's not the answer. Can we agree that Zappy is not the answer?
Well, we know Zappy's not the answer. But let's pump the brakes, because against the Steelers, it was Mitch Trubisky. Against the Chiefs, it was Patrick Mahomes. And he basically said, hey, that's why I'm Patrick Mahomes. Every time the Patriots gave him pressure, he walked left, walked right, found somebody, money.
Yeah.
That's basically why he's Patrick Mahomes. Sappy, when the pressure came, turnover. So that's why, basically what it comes at. Now, yeah, I know they didn't have Ramondre Stevens, so they couldn't run the ball, but I mean, the game was basically second half. It was all Kansas City. They could have scored more points. I know Andy Reid was like being gracious and took a knee, but listen, we know right now, we just know that we got the second draft pick and 2 QBs are headed our way. So let's just, because Mac is not the answer. Sappy's not the answer.
So they're both gone, that's what you're saying.
No, I think Sappy can be a decent, backup if he puts it together. I don't think Mac is gonna be there unless some miracle happens and he like becomes a better backup. But I don't think he's gonna be the start. But then again, I don't know, because he seems like he's likable the first couple of games, preseason, and then I don't know what happens. He turns into a pumpkin. The other game, Steelers, Pittsburgh at Indiana. It was 1.5 favored by Indiana. I said Pittsburgh 17-10. You had them losing 20-17. Final score was 30-13. So basically, we both thought that Pittsburgh could score 17 points. They couldn't do that.
Well, they had 13 in the first quarter, and then laid an egg after that. So,
did Rudolph come in?
No, yeah, at the very end, like 2 minutes left, after Trubisky threw like 2 interceptions, missed wide open players, left and right, didn't do the check down like Tomlin wanted to. Basically, after Trubisky played Trubisky football, and then the defense just said, we had injuries, we had a lot of attrition. Kazee went down, and again, Kazee's our second safety anyways. He's not our starter. But he went down, so now you put in a third string. Fitzpatrick went down, he was out. So we're playing with like fourth and fifth string back there. Third and fourth string linebackers. It was just too much. Those guys were third, fourth, fifth strings, and guys from the practice squad for a reason. And it showed on defense. We laid an egg and kind of gave up at the end, I think, defensively. But
Indianapolis had 170 yards rushing.
Yeah.
But 205 in the air.
To like Trey Sermon and some other guy was off the street. To like their third and fourth running backs, basically. So and this is one thing I like about Tomlin, because he breaks it down to simple terms. There's like professional, and then there's JV. We had a JV squad out there. They had a JV squad out there, with their running backs, and that's what you get, right? You got your JV team out there. You guys some random guy from off the street's gonna rush for like 100-something yards. That's what happened. But hey, it is what it is. I think Tomlin got, I don't want to say he's fully outcoached this game, but he was outcoached. At one point he didn't kick a field goal when he probably should have. He elected to punt. That's when they went out, a long drive. I think it was like 12 runs in a row. They just ran the ball right down our throat and scored. And at the same time, I think we've realized Trubisky isn't the answer. He shouldn't have been our second quarterback. There's a lot of players, a lot of issues with our receivers. Those guys don't play. And I think I think the national media finally saw it. Like, the players have tuned Tomlin out to a certain extent, and he has, to a certain extent, lost the locker room. What I've been saying for like weeks now.
So 7 wins, that's it. They're not going to get any more wins.
I don't see them winning another game this season.
So this is going to be Tomlin's first losing season?
Probably. I know Kenny's back practicing this week. That makes a difference. You know, if he's able to play like next week, I doubt he plays this week, but if he's able to play like next week, it might make a little bit of a difference. But, you know, we'll see what the other players do. You know, Kenny's 7-2, I think his record is. But if your receivers aren't blocking or running their routes properly, then I don't know what's going to happen. So I don't know, you know. But I think, Matt, you know, they're out of it at this point. There needs to be changes in the offseason. I'll just put it that way.
So are you saying that Tomlin, if he loses out the rest of the season, is he out?
For sure. Whether he loses the rest of the season or if they win, make the playoffs somehow, they're not going to extend his contract. Now, if he loses the rest of the season, they got to figure out.
What was he signed to? 2 more years? 1
more year. So he has the 2024, and then he's done, basically. They have to figure out, do they keep Tomlin, take the keys away, like they will need to do with Belichick too, hire someone for him as the coordinator, let him own, you know, the offensive side of the ball, you know, we need new line coach, quarterback coach, all that needs to be like done. Will he be willing to do that? Or if he's not, you know, willing to relinquish control, then, you know, can they mutually agree to part ways? Or will Pittsburgh ship him somewhere else?
I mean, Ron, what I was saying is, if Pittsburgh decides to move on, who would you want to see replace Tomlin?
An offensive-minded head coach, someone like the enemy. I think he would be a great fit because, one, you don't put up with bullshit. Like, if you remember the story from the offseason in Washington, they had to like go to him and say, "Oh, you know, take it easy. You know, you're pissing the players off." That's exactly what this team needs. Like, Tomlin is he's a nice guy, talks serious or whatever, but the players like him. You know, he's direct, but he doesn't he doesn't go overboard. The enemy will go overboard. The enemy will sit your ass down and embarrass the hell out of you. That's what they need. That's what Pickens needs. That's what Deontay needs. That's what young players need that don't have any self-control, don't have any maturity. They need that like hardcore person. And the enemy obviously is a great mind. He's a good coordinator. I love the stuff that he's doing there in Washington. I think he'd be a good head coach. There's other guys out there, but it has to be somebody like offensive-minded, someone with experience as a head coach too. We're not going to go out and just grab anyone without any experience whatsoever at the NFL level. But
so you don't want a defensive coach?
No,
at all.
No, I think if it was like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, you know, when you had Big Ben. But when you got a Kenny Pickett as your quarterback, he's going to be going into year 3. You got to figure out what he is, and if he's not the guy, you got to go out and draft somebody else and start the process over. You need to have an offensive mind, someone who's able to communicate and develop a quarterback. Tomlin was never that. You know, he was always like hands off with with Big Ben. You know, there's nothing he could ever say to Big Ben. You know, so I think we need someone who's able to have a good relationship with the quarterback and develop someone. You know, whether it's Pickett or somebody else. That's what the Steelers need.
All right, Ron, before we go into week 16, let's do our power rankings for the week. Oh, actually, before we actually go to that, Ron, who was your upset special?
So my upset special was Washington at LA. LA was favored by 6.5. I had Washington winning 28-27. They lost 28-20, so I missed that. And I didn't get to watch this game at all. I think the Rams controlled the game for the most part, for what I recall. But
I was scoreboard watching, and it's true. The Rams were up, and then Washington kind of made a comeback, but it wasn't enough. I had Baltimore at Jacksonville. I had Jacksonville winning 24-20. They laid an egg. It was 17-23. That was a Sunday night game. I watched the whole game, and I came to the conclusion that Trevor Lawrence is not a good quarterback. No.
I think you're coming to the wrong conclusion. I think your conclusion needs to be Baltimore is a good team, number one. Lamar Jackson's a real deal. And their defense is underrated. That's why I have them winning the AFC. I had them, going to the Super Bowl. I think their defense has been underrated. And I don't think people are giving the defense enough credit. When you can go out and make Lawrence look like what he is. I'm not saying Lawrence is perfect. Maybe he's a little bit overrated, but I wouldn't say he's pedestrian or anything like that.
No, I just think there was some, he fumbled the ball for no reason because he wasn't it. He just didn't have it right. And I'll give you credit. Baltimore did bring in Etienne. I think he had less yards than 100.
Yeah,
but
and they were missing Christian Kirk too, so their second
Christian Kirk, but they have Calvin Ridley, and he did nothing. So, I don't want to say Trevor Lawrence, it all falls on him, but he did not look good Sunday night, and that was a game that they needed to win badly, and now they're in a 3-way tie with Houston and Indianapolis. So go figure. Ron, who is your top 5 teams of power ranking?
Yeah, so I think just one team has changed. So I got San Francisco at 1, no change there. Baltimore at 2, no change there. I got Miami at 3. I think I had them at 4, last week. I got Dallas falling to 4. They were at number 3 last week, and I got Detroit moving back into the top 5 at 5. Philly dropping out. They were 5 last week. They dropped out of the top 5 for me.
There was 2 teams that I changed. Cleveland got dropped out. Even though they won, it wasn't very convincing by Flacco. And we were just talking about, DTR is going to play. No, it's Flacco is going to play.
He threw 3 interceptions.
He didn't look very sharp, but they still won.
Yeah.
So, they're still good. And then I put Philly back in. I know they lost, but I just feel like they have such a good lead that they can win out. But it was San Francisco at the top of my list. But that could be Baltimore. Who knows? I just feel like Baltimore. Are they really challenged though?
Yeah.
They have the best road record. See, this is my thing. You have to have 2 things to be on this list. You have to be good on the road, and you have to have a good defense. Both San Francisco and Baltimore have good defenses, and they're actually good on the road. Not so much Miami. For some reason, I still see them like they're not a good road team, but they might get the number 2 seed, right? I think they're number 2 right now. So they might only need to go on the road that one time to Baltimore. So, yeah, I'm monitoring that, but at the same time, and that's why I put KC, because you can't count KC out totally. I just want to see them win on the road, because I feel like all those times that they won Super Bowl, they didn't have to leave Kansas City.
Yeah. So when they get to the playoffs, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Go on the road and win a game. So, and that's going to be tough for them this year. Receiving is a mess. They got to fix that next year. I don't know. Mahomes is great. He's not enough though to drag that team through a gauntlet in the playoffs.
Kelsey's getting up there in age. He's not the same as he was. I know he bagged Taylor Swift, but hey, what you do on the field, and forget about what you do outside the field. What you do on the field, and I don't think Mahomes can trust Rice, can trust Tony. Valdez Scalding. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. So it might be the first time, and we were talking about this, like, who do we have in the Super Bowl? We never wrote this down, so I remember that I had Philly and Kansas City, but those might not be the two top teams at the end.
Yeah, I think I had Philly and Baltimore. I'm definitely sticking with the Baltimore one. Philly worries me because not just because they're losing, it's how they're losing, and their defense has not been what it's supposed to be. So that worries me. San Francisco looks like the favorite. I'm still not counting Detroit out either, even though their defense is terrible. I think they can go out and score a lot of points and just, bludgeon you to death in the playoffs. So I think it's in the AFC, it's Baltimore, and I'll be shocked if it's anyone else. But in the NFC, it's wide open. It may be San Francisco, but I think it's wide open outside of San Francisco. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And Ron, let's do Week 16 because it's actually below 50 degrees in Florida. So for all you guys out there, it actually gets cold in Florida. If you didn't know. New England at Denver. Denver is favored by 8 points. Ron, what's your prediction?
Yeah, I got Denver winning 24-17. I think Denver is going to bounce back. It's tough for anyone to go into Denver and play well. New England is, I'm not saying they mailed it in. They're going to go out and play hard, but they're not I don't think they're a better team than Denver is, so Denver should win this pretty easily.
I have New England winning 24-14, but I don't even know if they can score 24 points. I do have them winning if, and that's a big if, Sappy can actually play two halves. Two halves where he doesn't turn the ball over.
What do you really think is going to happen? Seriously, what do you really think? Listen, if you were to put a score down, if your life depended on this, what do you think is going to be the outcome of this game?
Listen, I don't want to overstep on my upset special, but I want Carolina to win so that them and New England can have the same record. 3 wins and... No, not the, what do you want? What do you think is going to happen? What does your gut tell you as far as who's going to win this game? My gut tells me that New England can put it together. Oh, so your gut has been telling you that for like 8, 9, 10, 11 straight weeks? Listen, I'm not saying my gut is perfect. I'm just saying... You need to stop listening to your gut. This is a defense that sometimes look good and sometimes look terrible. Yeah, well, I don't think the issue is the defense. It's just the offense is a hot mess. Well, sometimes Wilson can look good and sometimes he look terrible. And he, they showed that scene where Champagne basically, tongue lashes him out. So I don't trust Denver. I feel like the crowd will be into it. Champagne, of course, he's a good coach, so maybe he'll have the Denver ready for this, but I have New England winning. Okay. I don't know. The over and under is 34 points. I don't even know if they get to that. The next game, Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is favored by 2.5 points. Ron, what's your prediction? Yeah, I got Cincinnati winning this easily. This is in Cincinnati. I got 28-13. Mason Rudolph playing. I think he is... Is he better than Trubisky? He won't turn the ball over as much as Trubisky, but at the same time, he's kind of like a statue back there. And, he's not as accurate, I don't think, either. So he's a third string for a reason. And so I think last week was the beginning of the end, or maybe going back a couple weeks, it was the beginning and end. This is like the nail in the coffin for the Steelers. I think they won't show up at all offensively. That part's not a surprise. I think their defense will go out and lay an egg. I can see it being 21-0 at like half, and Cincinnati just like coasting at that point. Yeah. I got Pitt winning 14-10, but like you said, the offense is not there. Maybe the defense is not there as well. I just don't like this Browning kid. yes, he beat Minnesota, but they make it out to be like he won the Super Bowl. I want to see him have a complete game. I think with the Vikings, it was half. He came in the second half. The first half, he was terrible. I want to see him have a complete game before I crown him. Oh, Cincinnati has a good QB, but I that's why I picked Pittsburgh. But same thing as New England. I'm not. It was one of those gut feelings. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Ron, who is your upset special?
So I got Baltimore. This is the Christmas game. Baltimore going into San Francisco. San Fran favored by 5.5. That seems like a lot to me for some reason. I know San Francisco is playing lights out, and I know Baltimore just lost their running back, one of their running backs. So that's gonna hurt for sure. But I've been high on Baltimore the entire season. I think this is a potential Super Bowl matchup, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think this is 1 against 2.
Yeah, this is gonna be a great game. I can't wait for it. I got Baltimore winning 23-21.
I have Green Bay at Carolina. Green Bay's favored by 5 points, but I have Carolina winning at home 17-14. Now I picked Carolina because I want that number 1 pick. I want the
You're
number 1 draft pick.
You're just picking based on what you want, not what you think is going to happen.
Well, listen, Green Bay has been up and down. I'm not gonna stick my neck out for Green Bay anymore.
That's why that coach, what's his name? He was on
LaFleur?
Yeah, he was on my hot seat list. So.
But then they're in playoff contention. So if they win this game, they probably are in the playoffs. But if they lose this game, it was a domino effect. We get the first pick. LaFleur gets a hot seat. A lot of things can happen from this game. That's why I picked Carolina to win 17-14. Ron, what do you have to say to the Steelers Nation out there?
Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holidays with your family. Sucks the position the Steelers are in, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
There's a light. What's the light?
The light is we know Trubisky isn't the answer. We know he's not going to be on the team next year. Mason's probably not going to be on the team next year. We're going to have a new coordinator next year. We don't know about the head coach, but change is coming. I think that's the light, right? We all wanted change for past 4 or 5 years. Well, I think we're finally about to get the change that we wanted. So that's the light that's at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that's, and I don't think I think that's a very dimmable light, because so many people, and I don't want to count you in that pile. So many people want Tomlin out. I just don't see that. The Steelers are an organization that has always, they have 3 coaches in like the last 40 years. I can see things changing around Tomlin, but not Tomlin. I just don't see it. As far as the Pats are concerned, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. Bill Belichick is fired. No, he's not. Oh, this last season. No, he's not. Listen, this makes for good clicking bait, makes for good radio, makes for good media, but it's just like the Steelers. If you want change, it's not going to happen overnight. And especially Robert Kraft is almost in his 70s, or maybe above his 70s, also his 80s. Belichick, also in his 70s. These are not people that want to hit the reset button and start over from scratch. Especially Belichick, because he has his hands on everything. As soon as you step in the Patriot place, everything, even from the janitorial services, everything has Belichick's hands on.
You'll get that full control in the Chargers, though.
I just don't see him starting over. I just don't see Robert Kraft starting. There's no way.
You got to start over at some point, though, right? Belichick's not.
Yeah, his son, Jonathan Kraft, yes, he can start over. But if you're the CEO and you're in your 70s, do you want to press a reset button and start anew and be sucking for the next 5-10 years, whatever it takes? You might die.
Well, so I'm gonna try to put myself in a billionaire's shoes. You
might die.
If I'm a billionaire, I'm trying to protect my investment, and
you can't change history, though. You can't change history.
But you do that by making sure you put a good product out there. And if you don't have a good product, you think it's time to move on, then you got to move on because you want to protect your product.
I just don't see that. I think that he has history on his hands. He has the 9 Super Bowl appearance, 6 wins. He wants Bill Belichick. He wants a statue, basically, of Bill Belichick. He doesn't want Bill Belichick breaking the record with another team. He just doesn't want that. It's just not going to happen.
Move on from great coaches all the time. Even Andy Reid, he got shipped out, from Philadelphia. So it happens all the time. Sometimes,
no, not all the time. You just mentioned one person.
It happened, though, right?
And who was the other person that had success? That's what I'm saying. You cannot have success, or you can, but it happened to Andy Reid. Who else has success after they were a great coach here and then they move on to another? Name me another one.
No, Bill Parcells. They got tired of him, right?
Who, the Giants? Yeah. I mean,
they got tired of him.
It goes back to the ownership, though.
Yeah, but
two people in the last 50 years
but
you just mentioned.
The point is, it can happen. It should happen more, to be honest with you. Once you've been with, it's just like anybody, not just like NFL coaches, but once you've been someplace for like 5+ years, people start to like, and that's what happened. I think it's happening in Pittsburgh. The same message that you said year 1 does not work year 5, 6, 7, 15, which is where Tomlin's at, 15 or 16. Right? It does. That message gets old and stale, and you need a new voice. And I'm sure that's what the Patriots are going through too, right? With Belichick. They're like, I mean, I know you had all those awards and you won all these games. You're a great coach and stuff, but Lou Holtz was a great coach, at Notre Dame. And players, they're like, dude, you're like 90 years old. We're not listening to you anymore. Right?
That's why he's going to change. Listen, I think that he can turn around this team personally.
Belichick? You've lost your mind.
Yes, if he gets a good quarterback in there, like a better than these quarterbacks,
you guys. I'm telling you, I'm saying you guys. It's not just you. It's a lot of people have this like just weird belief that a quarterback can come in and fix everything. Like having a superstar quarterback can erase having a shitty team or players that don't give a full effort, or not having a coordinator has any idea what they're doing. You need like a full team. You need guys around them. It's not just about having. Yeah, you need a quarterback, but it's more.
You definitely need a quarterback.
It's more than having a quarterback.
Well, you start with a good quarterback, and then you surround them with weapons, and then
a coordinator.
Personnel. Whoever the coordinator is, whoever the coordinator is, you just have to have a good quarterback. Listen, Tom Brady was a unicorn. We're not going to have Tom Brady. But if you have a good quarterback, or at least a coordinator that sees potential in that quarterback, sky's the limit. And I think that, yes, there have been times where Belichick has made a mistake in the personnel. But listen, offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien, he's just working what he's got. He doesn't have a lot to work with. It's not the same. I think that if we do get the first round pick and we draft a good QB, sky's the limit. Sky is the limit.
No, I don't believe that at all. I think there's a lot of holes to fill. The biggest one being like who the hell's calling the plays. But besides that, receivers, offensive linemen, even running backs. Zeke is going to be 50 probably next year. So
wait, what's wrong with Stevenson?
I think he's okay, but you need 2 running backs. I don't know how old Stevenson is. He's his third year. He'll be going to third or fourth.
I think.
So running backs fall off. That life shelf is like small. They fall off a cliff, before they even get to their second contract. So I think there's more holes than you're assuming, and I think you think a quarterback's going to go in and save. That's not happening. It's just not.
Listen, we both know that Belichick can still coach. We both know that. So if he can still coach, he just needs to flip over the personnel. Just get better players. all that's going to happen. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but it's going to happen.
Okay.
It's just a matter of wait and see. Wait and see. That's what I'm saying. So wait and see. So other than that, I want to say, yes, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, Happy New Year. And we'll have another show before the New Year. So I'm not going to go out and say Feliz Navidad, Prospero Año before we actually get to the New Year. Ron, happy holidays. And I think you're going to have a party on the 24th, right?
Yeah.
So we'll be there drinking eggnog and watching football.
Yep.
Because the Pats play Denver. That's right.
What time's that game at?
I think that is an 8 o'clock game.
Okay. I have not looked at the schedule at all. I have no idea what's going on.
I know there's 3 games on Monday. I don't know how many games on Sunday, probably the regular scale. But there's going to be games on Saturday game. So
yeah. So all
I
weekend.
think the Steelers are playing Saturday.
Yeah, we play Saturday.
Yeah, so.
There's only 2 games on Saturday? There's a game on Thursday? I thought we were done with Thursday.
Yeah, I thought we were done with Thursday. Well, I guess not.
Yep.
All right. So in that case,
Peace.
I'm going to say peace.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If any questions or comments, feel free to hit us up on Shut Your Mouth Podcast at gmail.com. That's ShutYMPodcast at gmail.com. You can also hit us on Twitter or on Instagram at SYM Podcast. Thanks again.